In this video, I'll be talking about how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. And the first thing I want to say that adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing decimals is no different than adding, subtracting, multiplying regular numbers. So let's take a look at some examples. Let's say we have 6.4 plus 5.2. The first thing we have to do is put the numbers over each other to align the decimals. So 6.4 and 5.2. Now we just add 2 and 4 gives us 6. Place a decimal. And then 5 and 6 gives us 11. That would be the answer. Let's work another problem. Say we have 2.5 plus 4.6. 6 and 5 is 11, so we put the 1 here and we carry the other one. We bring down the decimal, and then we add 2 and 4. 4 and 2 gives us 6, plus 1 gives us 7. That's the answer. Say we have 11.6 plus 7.1. We add the 1 and the 6, which gives us 7. Bring down the decimal. 7 plus 1 is 8. And we bring down the 1. Subtraction is no different, but instead of carrying like we do in addition, we're going to borrow. We might have to borrow from the number before. So let's say we have 16.1 minus 12.4. The first thing we do is we align the decimals, put them one over each other, and we put the bigger number first. Then we subtract. 4 minus 1. We can't subtract 4 from 1, so we borrow. This now becomes a 5, and this becomes an 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. Now 2 minus 5 is 3. We bring down the decimal. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So the answer is 3.7. Let's do another problem. Say we have 22.4 minus 8.6. Again, we can't subtract 6 from 4, so we have to borrow. This becomes a 1, and this becomes a 14. So 6 minus 14 is 8. We bring down the decimal. 8 minus 1. We can't do that, so we have to borrow. So this becomes a 1, and this becomes an 11. So 8 minus 11 is 3. Then we just bring down the 1. This would be our answer. Let's do one more. 9.5 minus 4.2. 2 minus 5 is 3. We bring down the decimal. 4 minus 9 is 5. Now let's take a look at multiplication. And multiplication with decimals is no different than regular multiplication. So let's take 4 and 2, 4.2 multiplied by 2.3. And when you're multiplying decimal, you just gotta keep track of where the decimal is. But for now, we're gonna ignore the decimal and just do the multiplication and then add the decimal at the end. So let's do 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Now we move on to the second number, so we put a placeholder in the ones place. And we do 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Now we just add them up. 6 and 0 is 6. 4 and 2 is 6. And 1 and 8 is 9. Now to place the decimal point, we just count up how many decimal places we had in the problem. And this time we had 2, 1, and 2. So starting from the right, we jump 2 times and we put a decimal point there. So the answer would be 9.66. Let's do a few more problems. Let's do 5.24 multiplied by 5.1. Again, we're not lining them up because we're just ignoring the decimal, and we'll add it at the end. So 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 5 is 5. We add our placeholder and then we move on to the tens place. So 5 times 4 is 20, so we put a 0 and put a 2 up here. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Put a 2 here and 1 up here. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So we put a 6 here and carry the 2. Now we just add. 4 plus 0 is 4, 2 plus 0 is 2, 5 plus 2 is 7, and then 6 and a 2. Now we again count up how many decimal places we have. We have 3. So starting from the right, we move 3 places. And our decimal point would go right there. Let's do another problem. Say we have 7.24. Let's multiply it by 2.53. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. So we put a 1 and we carry the 2. Now we move on to the tens place. So we put our placeholder. 5 times 4 is 20. So we put a 0 and put a 2 up here. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. We put the 2 here and carry the 1. 5 times 7, 35, plus 1 is 36. Now we go to the hundreds place. We put 2 zeros for the ones and the tens place. Now we do 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. Now we just add 2 and 2 zeros is 2. 7 and 2 zeros is 7. 8 and 2 is 10. 11. Carry the 1. 6 and 4 plus 1 is 11. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 is 11, plus 2 is 13. So we put a 3 here, carry the 1. 3 and 4 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And then we just bring down the 1. Now we count up how many decimal places we had in our problem, and then we shift the decimal over. So we had 4, so we shift from the right 4 times. Decimal would go right here. Division is also similar to division with regular numbers. All you have to remember is to align the decimal of the number being divided with the decimal of the answer. So let's say we have 2.75 and it's divided by 2, so we put the 2.5 inside, 2.75, and the 2 outside. Now the answer will have a decimal point right here. See how they're aligned? So now we just perform regular long division. How many times does 2 go into 2? Well, it goes in once. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract, we get 0. Next we bring down the 7. How many times does 2 go into 7? 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, we get 1. We bring down the 5. How many times does 2 go into 5? 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 minus 15 is 1. Now we can borrow another 0 and bring it down to complete the division. Now we have 10. How many times does 2 go into 10? 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10, giving us a remainder of 0. So 2.75 divided by 2 is 1.375. So let's work another problem. Let's say we are given 3.25 divided by 0.3. The first thing we do is put it in a different format. So we put 3.2 inside the division and 0.3 outside. Now you don't want to be dividing by 0.3. You want to be dividing by whole numbers. So we're going to multiply each of these numbers by 10, which will basically just get rid of this decimal and shift it down here. Get rid of this decimal and put it over here. And the reason we can do this is because when you multiply by 10, you're not changing the ratio. Let's say we have 0.01 divided by 0.03. It's the same as 0.1 divided by 0.3, or 1/3, or 10/30ths, or 100/300ths. All of these can be reduced to 1/3. If we multiply this by 10, we get 1/3. If we divide this by 10, we get 1/3. If we multiply this by 100, we get 1/3. So this is perfectly legal for us to do. Next, we perform our long division. 3 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. We do our subtraction. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down the 2. 3 goes into 2 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. We get 2. We align the decimal. Bring down the 5 to get 25. So now we ask, how many times does 3 go into 25? It goes into 25 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 minus 25 is 1. Since we have a remainder, we can borrow another digit, another 0. Bring down the 0. How many times does 3 go into 10? It goes in 3 times. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then we have a 1. As we can see that if we keep going, we'll just keep getting 1 as a remainder, and we'll have to keep dividing indefinitely. So this is a repeating decimal. The answer to this problem is 10.83 repeating.